The signal wasn't meant for humans, but they responded without fear. The wind blew sand against the windows of the small research station. Dr. Jiwoo Park rubbed her tired eyes and checked the computer screen again. For 3 years, she had worked at this lonely radio observatory in the Atacama Desert. Most days were quiet. Today was different. Do-yun, come look at this, she called to her research partner. Do-yun put down his coffee mug and walked over. His eyes widened as he looked at the screen. Is that what I think it is? He asked. Jiwoo nodded. The computer flagged it an hour ago. I've been checking it since then. It's not random, there's a pattern. On the screen, strange peaks and valleys formed lines that repeated every few seconds. Most signals from space were either simple beeps from satellites or random noise from stars. This was different. This had structure. Where is it coming from? Do-yun asked, leaning closer. That's the strange part, Jiwoo said. It's not aimed at us. The signal is passing through our solar system. It's going somewhere else. Do-yun pulled up a chair. For the next few hours, they watched the signal continue. They ran tests. They checked their equipment. Everything worked correctly. The signal was real. We need to call the director, Do-yun finally said. 3 days later, their small research station was full of people. Government officials arrived in black cars. Computer experts set up new equipment. Armed guards stood at the doors. Director. Tae-woo Lee had brought his best team. He was a tall man with gray hair who spoke softly but made important decisions. Show me what you found, he said to Jiwoo. She pointed to the new charts on the wall. The signal contains math, complex equations, and here, she pointed to another section. These look like coordinates in space. Could it be from another country? A secret satellite? Asked one official. Jiwoo shook her head. No, we checked. The signal comes from 19 light-years away. It's definitely not from Earth. The room went quiet. You're saying it's alien? Director Lee asked carefully. Yes, Jiwoo said. But it wasn't meant for us. It's passing through our solar system on its way somewhere else. We just happened to catch it. Over the next week, more experts arrived. Jiwoo worked with Subin Cho, a young math genius who had new ideas about the signal. Look here, Subin said one night, pointing to her computer. These aren't just random numbers, they're instructions. Instructions for what? Jiwoo asked. I think for building something, some kind of machine or device. As they decoded more of the signal, a strange picture emerged. The message contained designs for technology beyond human understanding. But there was something else in the signal, too. It's a warning, Subin said 2 days later, her face pale. Something is coming, something dangerous. Director Lee called an emergency meeting. Government leaders from around the world joined by video. Jiwoo and her team showed what they had found. The signal was sent by one advanced civilization to another, Jiwoo explained. It warns about a threat moving through space. Based on the coordinates, this threat will reach our solar system in about 5 years. What kind of threat? Asked a woman from the United Nations. We don't know exactly, Jiwoo admitted. But the signal includes designs for defensive technology. Whatever is coming, the senders thought their allies would need protection. The meeting room erupted in worried voices. Some officials wanted to keep everything secret. Others wanted to tell the public. Everyone was afraid. What should we do? Director Lee asked Jiwoo when they were alone. Jiwoo looked at the signal data again. Her heart raced, but her mind was clear. I think we should answer, she said. Director Lee looked surprised. Answer? But the message wasn't for us. No, but we received it. And if this threat is real, we need allies. The civilization that sent this warning might help us. That's incredibly risky, the director said. They might see us as a threat, too. Maybe, Jiwoo agreed. But doing nothing is riskier. 2 days later, after many arguments and meetings, a decision was made. Using the same mathematical patterns from the original signal, Earth would send a response. They would tell the truth, that humans had intercepted the message by accident, that they understood the warning, and that they asked for help. As the powerful transmitters aimed at the distant stars, Jiwoo watched the screens. No one knew if their message would be received. No one knew if anyone would answer. But for the first time in human history, Earth was deliberately speaking to the stars, not with hopeful messages about peace and friendship, but with a clear-eyed request for help against a common enemy. The signal was sent. Now all they could do was wait. The signal wasn't meant for humans, but they responded without fear. 3 weeks had passed since Earth sent its response to the mysterious signal. The research station in the Atacama Desert had grown into a small city of tents and temporary buildings. Scientists from all over the world worked day and night to understand the signal better. Minji Kang had not slept properly for days. As the Yao-Si lead linguist on the project, she felt enormous pressure. Her small office was covered with papers showing different patterns from the signal. "You need to rest," said Hyunwoo Choi, the physicist who worked with her. He placed a cup of tea on her desk. "I can't," Minji said. "Look at this part of the message. It's talking about energy levels we can't even create on Earth." "If this threat is real," Hyunwoo nodded. He understood. They all did. Something was coming toward Earth, and they needed to know what it was. In the main research hall, 50 experts worked at computers. Data analyst Ji Hye-song called out suddenly, "I found something new." Everyone rushed to her station. On her screen was a new section of the signal they had finally decoded. "It's like a map," Ji Hye explained. "It shows something moving through this part of the galaxy, toward us." Director Lee studied the screen. "How fast is it moving?" "Based on these numbers," Ji Hye said, "it will reach our solar system in 5 years." The room went quiet. 5 years. It seemed both very far away and terribly close. That night, world leaders held an emergency meeting. Some wanted to keep everything secret to prevent panic. Others argued people deserved to know. "We still don't know what the threat actually is," said one president. "Only that something is coming." Back at the research station, Minji made a breakthrough. She rushed to find Director Lee, who was talking with military officials. "I've decoded more of the warning," she said, out of breath. "The threat isn't a natural disaster like an asteroid, it's a species. An intelligent species that destroys everything in its path." The officials looked at each other nervously. "Are you sure?" Director Lee asked. Minji nodded. "The signal describes them as consumers who take all resources from planets. They don't communicate or negotiate, they just take and destroy." One general stood up. "Then we prepare for war. We build weapons." "It's not that simple," Minji said. "The signal includes designs for defense technology far beyond what we can build. The civilization that sent the warning was trying to help their allies prepare. But even with their advanced technology, they seemed afraid." The world changed in the following days. Governments began secret preparations while scientists worked harder to understand the signal. Public rumors spread about unusual activity at research stations worldwide. Then, exactly 1 month after humans had sent their response, a new signal arrived. This one was different. It wasn't passing through our solar system. It was aimed directly at Earth. Minji was the first to recognize the pattern. "It's using the same mathematical language as the first signal," she said, "but it's simpler, like they're trying to make it easier for us to understand." "They?" Director Lee asked. "Who's they?" "The senders of the original warning," Minji explained. "They heard our response. They're talking to us now." The new message was short but clear. It expressed surprise that young ones had intercepted and understood their warning. It confirmed the threat was real, a species the message called the Void that had already destroyed many worlds. The most important part came last. The senders would send representatives to Earth. They wanted to meet humans. "This changes everything," Director Lee said. "They're coming here to help us." "Or to check if we're worth saving," Hyunwoo said quietly. The news spread quickly. After decades of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, the answer had come in the most unexpected way. Not through peaceful exploration, but because of a shared danger. 2 days later, astronomers detected an object entering the solar system. It was moving faster than any natural object could. It was heading directly toward Earth. World leaders argued about how to respond. Some wanted military forces ready. Others said that would look hostile. In the end, they decided to meet. The visitors at a remote location in the Atacama Desert, right where the first signal had been detected. Minji, Hyunwoo, Ji-hye, and Director Lee would be there, along with representatives from major nations. As they waited under the starry sky, Minji felt both terror and wonder. Humans were about to meet beings from another world, and together, they would face an enemy that threatened them both. The visitors would arrive tomorrow, and nothing would ever be the same. The signal wasn't meant for humans, but they responded without fear. The visitors arrived at dawn. Their ship was small and silver, shaped like a smooth teardrop. It landed silently in the desert, kicking up little dust. Everyone watching held their breath. Secretary General June Park stood at the front of the human delegation. Beside him were leaders from major nations, scientists, and military officers. No one spoke as the ship's side opened with a soft hiss. 3. Beings emerged. They walked on two legs like humans but were taller and thinner. Their skin shimmered with a blue-green color that reminded June of the ocean. They had large eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "Welcome to Earth," June said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The tallest visitor stepped forward. When it spoke, the sound came not from its mouth but seemed to form in the air between them. "We are the Sora," it said. "We sent the warning that you intercepted. We did not expect anyone from your world to understand it." They were taken to a specially prepared meeting room. The three visitors, who called themselves observers, explained more about the threat. "The void consumes everything," one observer said. "They are not like us or you. They do not build or create. They only take. Many worlds have already fallen." Defense Minister Una Yoon spoke up. "Why should we trust you? How do we know you're not the real threat?" The observers showed images on a small device. Planets turned from blue-green to gray and lifeless, entire solar systems emptied of resources. "We fight them where we can," an observer explained. "But they adapt quickly. We need new allies, new ways of thinking." That night, world leaders gathered at the United Nations. The meeting hall was tense as science advisor Sunwoo Choi presented what they had learned. "The void will reach us in 5 years," he said. "The Sora offer to help us build defenses. They have technology far beyond ours, but they want something in return." "What could we possibly offer them?" asked one president. "Our creativity," Sunwoo answered. "They say humans think differently. We find solutions they would never consider. They believe together we might find a way to stop the void." The debate lasted for hours. Some leaders wanted nothing to do with the aliens or their war. They suggested hiding, preparing Earth's defenses alone. Others wanted to accept the alliance immediately. "We can't face this alone," argued June Park. "Their technology could help us even if the void never arrives." "Or their help could make us dependent on them," countered Minister Yoon. "What if this is just a trick to control Earth?" As the argument continued, Dr. Ji-woo Park was invited to speak. She had studied the original signal longer than anyone. "I've analyzed everything," she said. "The warning, the signal patterns, the data about the void, it all matches. The threat is real." She showed new images from deep space telescopes. Something dark was moving between the stars, leaving emptiness behind. "The void is coming whether we join the Sora or not," she said. "We can face it alone with our limited technology, or we can stand with allies who have fought them before." The vote was not unanimous. Several nations refused to participate. But in the end, the majority chose alliance over isolation. The next day, June Park signed the first treaty between Earth and another world. The Sora would share defense technology. In return, humans would join the fight against the void with their unique perspectives and ideas. As the ceremony ended, communications expert Minjun Kang approached one of the observers. "You could have gone to many worlds," he said. "Why choose Earth?" The observer's large eyes studied him. "Most young species run and hide when they learn of the void. You heard our warning, a message not even meant for you, and your first action was to respond, not with fear, but with readiness. That is rare. That night, as the Sora ship rose into the stars to bring more of their kind, millions of humans watched the sky. Some felt hope, others fear. All knew that everything had changed. In 5 years, the void would arrive. Earth had that long to prepare, and humanity's greatest test would begin. The signal wasn't meant for humans, but they responded without fear. 4 years had passed since the Sora first landed on Earth. The world had changed in ways no one could have imagined. In every major city, humans and Sora worked side by side, preparing for the coming threat. Ambassador Ji-Yeon Han walked through the new Global Defense Center in Seoul. The massive building combined Earth architecture with Sora design, curved walls that seemed to flow like water, rooms that adjusted their size based on need. Ji-Yeon had spent 3 years learning the Sora language and culture. She was now Earth's main representative to the aliens. "The defense satellites are almost ready," said her Sora guide, who had taken the human name Tai. "Your engineers learn quickly." "We have good teachers," Ji-Yeon replied with a small smile. In truth, the relationship had not always been smooth. The first year had been filled with mistrust and fear. Many humans believed the void was a lie created by the Sora to control Earth. Some nations still refused to work with the aliens. But as more evidence of the void arrived, images from deep space telescopes showing dead solar systems, recordings of distress calls from distant worlds, most doubts faded. The threat was real. And it was coming. Ji-Yeon entered the main control room. Screens covered the walls, showing defense platforms being built in orbit around Earth. The technology was incredible. Energy shields that could block almost any attack. Weapons that could target objects millions of miles away. "Ambassador Han," called a voice. General Minho Kwon approached. "We've received new information from the outer scouts." The general led her to a private room where several Sora observers waited. Their expressions were hard to read, but Ji-Yeon had learned to recognize tension in the way they held themselves. "The void has changed direction," one observer said. "They will reach us sooner than we predicted." 1 year, not 2. Ji-Yeon felt her heart sink. "Why? Have they detected our preparations?" "We believe they sense the energy from our new defense systems. The void always moves toward the richest resources. Your planet is now giving off signals they can detect. So by trying to defend ourselves, we've attracted them faster," Ji-Yeon said. The observer nodded. "It is unfortunate, but not unexpected." An emergency meeting was called that night. Leaders from Earth and high-ranking Sora gathered to discuss the new timeline. "We're not ready," General Kwon said bluntly. "The orbital platforms need another 8 months. The ground defenses longer." "Then we must change our strategy," said the head Sora observer. "We originally planned to meet the void at the edge of your solar system. Now we must prepare for them to reach Earth itself." The room erupted in worried voices. Earth under direct attack? No one had planned for that. As the arguments continued, a quiet voice spoke up. It was Young-Ho Kim, a young scientist who had worked closely with the Sora. "I think I see a different approach," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. Young-Ho was known for unusual ideas that often proved valuable. The void is drawn to energy and resources, right? What if we use that? Create false targets? Decoys? The Sora looked at each other. "Explain," one said. "We build small platforms giving off huge energy signatures. Place them in specific patterns. Make the void think they're valuable targets. We could lead them where we want." For a moment, there was silence. Then the lead observer spoke. "In all our centuries fighting the void, we never tried deception on this scale. We always met force with force." "That's human thinking," General Kwon said, beginning to see the potential. "We're smaller and weaker. We've had to learn to be clever." The plan took shape over the next hours. Earth would build decoy platforms designed to attract the void's attention. Meanwhile, the real weapons would be hidden, waiting to attack when the enemy was distracted. As the meeting ended, the lead observer approached Ji-Yeon. "This is why we sought your world's help," it said. "Your people think in ways we cannot. The void adapts to patterns it has seen before. But humans, you are unpredictable." That night, Ji-Yeon looked up at the stars from her apartment window. Somewhere out there, the void was coming. Faster now, drawn by the very defenses meant to stop it. But for the first time, she felt real hope. The Sora had technology and experience. Humans had creativity and courage. Together, they might actually stand a chance. The true test would come soon. Much sooner than anyone had planned. The signal wasn't meant for humans, but they responded without fear. The void arrived at the edge of the solar system on a cold winter morning. Fleet Commander Hana Kim stood on the bridge of the Earth's flagship, the Guardian. Through the massive viewing window, she could see hundreds of ships, some human, most Sora, arranged in precise formation. Behind them floated the decoy platforms, pulsing with energy designed to attract the enemy. "They're coming," said her second-in-command Lieutenant Jeho Park. His voice was steady, but Hana noticed his hands gripping the console tightly. "All ships, maintain position," Hana ordered. "Remember your training." On the screens, dark shapes appeared against the stars. The void ships looked like nothing made by humans or Sora. They were irregular masses that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Sensors showed they were massive, each one larger than Earth's biggest cities. "Energy readings are off the charts," reported the sensor officer. "They're scanning the decoys." "Good," Hana said. "Let them take the bait." Engineer Juno Lee had designed the decoy system. For months, he had worked with Sora technicians to create platforms that mimicked the energy signature of valuable resources. The plan was simple but daring. Lead the void to specific locations where the Allied forces waited in hiding. "The first decoy is being approached," Lieutenant Park announced. Everyone watched as one of the void ships moved toward the nearest platform. It extended dark tendrils that wrapped around the decoy. "Now," Hana commanded. Hidden ships suddenly revealed themselves, firing concentrated energy beams at the distracted void vessel. The attack cut through its outer layer. But instead of exploding, the damaged section simply broke off and the ship continued moving. "It's adapting," said the Sora commander who shared the bridge with Hana. "As we feared." "Activate Phase 2, Hana ordered. Across the solar system, more decoys lit up, drawing the void fleet in different directions. The massive ships split up, unable to resist the lure of apparent resources. The battle raged for hours. Human ships were smaller and faster, darting into attack before retreating. Sora vessels provided cover with their advanced shields, but the void seemed endless. For every section they destroyed, the enemy simply reformed. "We're losing too many ships," Lieutenant Park said grimly. "The void is learning our patterns." Hana knew he was right. The void adapted quickly. Their carefully planned strategy was falling apart. Then she remembered something from her military training years ago. "Old Earth tactics," she murmured. "Lieutenant, order all human ships to form pattern Delta 9. "That's a centuries-old formation," he said, surprised. "Exactly. Something the void has never seen." As human ships rearranged themselves, Hana contacted the Sora commander. "We need to try something the void won't expect. Can your ships create a massive energy pulse all at once?" The Sora seemed confused, but agreed. "It will drain our reserves. We may not have enough power to escape if it fails." "It won't fail," Hana said with confidence she didn't entirely feel. The human ships formed a spiral pattern, drawing several void vessels into its center. Meanwhile, the Sora ships gathered their energy, building to levels that made the sensors scream warnings. "Now!" Hana shouted. The Sora released their energy in one massive pulse, while the human ships scattered in all directions. The pulse hit the void ships, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then the dark vessels began to vibrate. Their surfaces rippled like water, and suddenly they began to break apart. "It's working," Lieutenant Park exclaimed. "The energy overload is disrupting their structure." One by one, the void ships collapsed in on themselves, unable to maintain cohesion under the unexpected attack. The remaining vessels began to retreat, moving back toward the edge of the solar system. "They're running," someone said in disbelief. "Not running," the Sora commander corrected. "Regrouping, they will return, but we have won this day." The victory came at a high cost. Many ships were lost, but Earth still stood, protected by an alliance no one could have imagined 5 years earlier. In the days that followed, humans and Sora prepared for the next battle. The Void would return, possibly with new adaptations, but Earth would be ready. As Hana looked out at the stars from the Guardian's bridge, she felt a strange pride. Humans had intercepted a message never meant for them. They had faced a threat beyond imagination, and they had fought back, not with superior technology or numbers, but with courage and creativity the enemy couldn't predict. The signal wasn't meant for humans, but humans had answered anyway, and the universe would never be the same.